The 4.2 Genshin Impact live stream just wrapped up and, excuse me, it didn't happen, but PlayStation posted the banners anyways. Got it. And now we know who exactly is running in the next patch. Or at least we think we do if we trust PlayStation France. So I know you might be thinking you already know who the most valuable pulls for 4.2 are, but I think each and every one of these characters shines for certain accounts. So today, we're going to talk about exactly who should pull on each banner and the kinds of characters you need to make them all shine. Welcome to Jello Impact, where we build and test every single character to help you decide who you want to wish for and build. So if we trust our sources, the first half of the banners will be Furina and Baizhu. And so we'll not only talk about these two character banners, but also the weapon banner as well, if you're considering that. Now, we don't exactly know Furina's kit. They haven't fully revealed it. However, Sony did show us some of the gameplay, which I will not be covering here, and it fully corroborates all of my prediction videos that I made about Furina before we got any leaks, any dreams, and so we won't be covering any leaks or dreams, just official information and my prediction. But I think if you know, you know, I was pretty darn accurate with my prediction. As usual with an Archon, she's gonna have a lot more value than most characters. Being an off-field DPS plus a buffer is really, really powerful. She's gonna basically work with any team that benefits from off-field hydro damage, and number 2 benefits from damage percent buffs, and number 3 that synergize with a healer on the team. So rather than list every single character that could benefit from this, which I will go more into on my pre-release and my full guide for Furina, I'm just gonna say that if you run a team that benefits from those types of buffs and that off-field damage and runs a healer on the team, she is probably going to be a best in slot character for said team. That would include a lot of Baizhu teams, a lot of Cyno teams, but also give buffs to older characters such as Jean, potentially even characters like Raiden, like Tighnari, Yoimiya, Hu Tao. It's hard to say until we actually get a handle on her kit exactly how good she'll be and exactly who she'll synergize best with and not as good with. But I think it's pretty safe to say that as an Archon, she'll be the most valuable character of these 4. And not to mention, she's Hydro. It's the best element of the game. Giving a damage percent buff is the most valuable type of buff in the game, and doing off-field damage is the most useful thing to do in the game. So if you're interested in meta, if you're interested in healer characters, if you're interested in characters that use Hydro reactions, I'd be shocked if Furina wasn't the best pull for you. So that's a win. Now, Baizhu is a really interesting pull. I think Baizhu is one of the more underrated characters in the game. I think that basically when you're looking at Dendro characters, ideally a Dendro support is more useful than an on-field Dendro. Not that Alhaitham isn't great, not that Tighnari isn't good, but someone off-field like Nahida or like Baizhu is usually going to be your choice. And not only that, because if he does want to be on-field, he's one of the best characters to drive a Hyper Bloom team. Probably the most comfortable Hyper Bloom driver, because yes, Nahida applies more Dendro, so she is technically the better one, and she's also applies AoE Dendro, but in single target, and even in AoE sometimes as well, his AoE is not that great, but he has a Dendro infusion. And because he has a Dendro infusion, he applies Dendro extremely frequently, which is what you want for a Hyper Bloom team. And if you run him as your Hyper Bloom driver, that allows you to run a more offensive rest of the team. You can run Yelan, Xingqiu, and then Raiden, who is a higher damaging option than Kuki and makes your rotations more flexible. So he actually can be a superior choice to Nahida in some ways. Maybe not always the optimal choice, but a very, very good choice nonetheless. And so if you either don't have Nahida, or you don't want to get Nahida, or you want to use a second Dendro for your other side, he's a great choice for on-field Hyper Bloom. He's also the ideal choice for Aggravate or Quicken teams, such as with Yaimiko or Keqing or Cyno. He's a great choice for Quick Bloom teams, whether that's Cyno, even sometimes Alhaitham if you want a bit more of a comfy Quicken team, or if you don't run Nahida or don't have Nahida to go with Alhaitham, Baizhu is a solid choice. He can run great support weapons like Fav. He works great in Nilou teams because Nilou teams want a healer. He can allow you to be, he can be the on-fielder in Nilou teams, and you can use Yelan or Xingqiu as your Hydro unit for more single target damage. You can use him as your healer and in AoE, and you can use someone like Ayato or like Kokomi as your on-field Hydro unit. Overall, I think Baizhu is one of the most valuable characters you can pick up. I think he's probably the strongest of the defensive units. If you're interested in Novelette teams, he's great on there. He's also one of the best players for Burgeon teams because having defensive units in Burgeon is hard to come by. So you can be the on-fielder in your Burgeon team. So overall, it's hard to sing too many praises for Baizhu. I think he is, because he's got kind of a more boring and basic kit, he's a little bit underrated. Only thing is, compared to Yao Yao and compared to Kirara, he does have a lot of overlap. He heals like Yao Yao, but he will be a stronger and better healer. So he'll probably synergize better with Furina than Yao Yao, unless you're using Yao Yao on field. He's more flexible than Yao Yao. Yao Yao can be an on-fielder for Hyper Bloom, but if you're just looking for maybe that quicken support or on Nilou teams, Yao Yao is a fantastic choice. So although he's a character that brings a lot of value, he's got really high competition with 4-star alternatives. I absolutely think that for most teams, you can just get away with using Yao Yao. So he's a more comfortable pick. He's a stronger pick. He's a valuable pick. But just using Yao Yao or Kirara can be more than good enough. So if you don't have the Primo Gems for Baizhu, or if you just don't like him, or you don't like his playstyle, you don't like whatever, just sticking to Yao Yao and Kirara is not really a loss. And I would say the same thing about Furina, right? Just sticking to Yelan or Sing Cho and Kokomi, if you already have a lot of Hydro characters, it's not like you need Furina. But just like Baizhu, they have their niche where they will be stronger. And I think there will be more teams where Furina is the stronger option, and a lot of teams where Baizhu is the most comfy option and the stronger option. So now for the second half banners, and then we'll go over the weapons for both halves, Cyno and Ayato. Ayato is the epitome of jack of all trades characters. He's an amazing pickup if you want an AoE Hydro character for Burgeon, for Nilou Bloom, but even an AoE character for Hyper Bloom, he's a very solid choice. He's a decent choice for Freeze. One of the better 5-star choices we have for like Ganyu Freeze, even Ayaka Freeze if you use him on Fav as a burst support. You're going to usually prefer Kokomi and Freeze almost always, but it's something that he can do. He can do Taser, he can do Reaction Soup with his like Fischl, Bennett, Kazuha. He has a ton of different characters. If you missed Novelette, or if you didn't like Novelette's playstyle, but you like Ayato's playstyle, I think he's a great alternative. I don't think he's quite as strong as Novelette. I think he's probably, like, he's similar to Cyno in power level, whereas I think Baizhu and Furina are stronger. But I think that he's a much more flexible pick than Cyno. Cyno basically is either a Quicken Aggravate team or a Hyper Bloom team, whereas Ayato can do anything. And if you are not an Abyss player, if you're an Overworld player, then I think Ayato's value just shoots through the roof, because not only he doesn't need his burst to function, he just needs his skill. He has so many different types of teams. If you're a new player, Ayato working in so many different teams can be huge for account enjoyability. Like, just enjoying the game with a Hydro character that can do so many different things can be really, really, really nice. And he has more off field than Novelette, so he has that going for him. Just a really, really solid pickup. I'd put him just below other DPSs in terms of power, but he does make up for that in flexibility. So if you value flexibility, he is an amazing choice. And then finally, for Cyno, he is one of the more underrated characters for sure. I think he's very, very strong. He basically just has one weakness, and that because his burst is so long, if you finish a wave and there's another wave in the Abyss, then you won't be able to reapply your buffs and off-fielders application like Nahida and Kazuha. You won't be able to apply them to the new wave of enemies without starting a whole new rotation. So Cyno is rough for that in the Abyss, and in the Overworld, it's his ER issues that hold him back. You got to build him with ER Sands or ER Weapon or both to make use of his burst comfortably in the Overworld. When he's not in multi-wave situations, however, Cyno is killer. He's very, very strong, but it's not like he's super valuable. All the teams that you can make with him, you can make with someone else like Alhaitham or Kaching or Yaemiko or something like that. But don't get it twisted. He's an extremely powerful character. If you like Cyno, you should get Cyno. All of these characters, obviously, if you like them, you should get them. But I just want to be super strong in this. If you like him, he is going to be really strong. The only caveat I would say is his best team is going to be Quick Bloom with Nahida, Baizhu, and Furina. That's going to be his new best team, almost certainly, based on what we're seeing. That's not his only good team, but if you don't have a lot of those characters already, and Nahida is probably coming in the next couple patches, it's an expensive team to build. So what other teams can he use? He can drive Fischl and use Baizhu and Kazuha as the defensive options. He can replace Furina with Yelan or Sing Cho. You can replace Baizhu with Zhongli. There's a bunch of different things you can do. You can run Quicken, and I love Quicken. I think Quicken Cyno is pretty darn underrated. I think it's very, very strong. I think it's stronger than Keqing, a bit weaker than Yaimiko, but because he's not as quick swappy, it's not as good in multi-wave. But I've never struggled to clear the Abyss with Cyno. Like, he's not a weak character. He's just maybe a tiny step below other DPSs in terms of value or flexibility. But when he shines, he is absolutely on par with all the best DPSs. It's just that it's not always, sometimes the Abyss just doesn't favor him, and that's okay. He's not a character you go for power, but you won't be disappointed if you build him properly and you like this character. So now for the weapon banners. Baiju's weapon is Jadefall Splendor. It's really only good for Baizhu, maybe Kokomi, and I think it's okay for Novelette as well. Not really the best choice. And Furina's weapon, I don't think we know it yet. If I had to guess, probably going to be like an upgraded Jade Cutter because she scales off of HP. So it's either going to be crit rate or crit damage. If I had to guess, I would say crit rate just as a little prediction. I don't think this is a good weapon banner to wish on for the most part. I would stick to, especially since Furina is probably going to want to use her burst. She's probably going to need a lot of ER. Fab is probably going to be good on her. It's probably better to skip this weapon banner and go for a weapon banner that has 2 more valuable weapons on it. The Ayato Cyno banner, however, is very good. Cyno's weapon is pretty universal. It's obviously amazing for him, but it's also great for Hu Tao. It's great for Xiangling. It's an EM crit stat stick, and Ayato's, I actually have Ayato's. The Haran is quite a good stat stick as well. The crit rate, and it gives an all elemental damage bonus. It also gives normal attack bonus, but the elemental damage bonus and crit rate alone make it a very universal weapon. It's sometimes a bit worse, sometimes a bit better than the Jade Cutter, usually a bit worse than the Mist Splitter for most characters, but it's probably like the second best sword in the game, maybe third behind the Jade Cutter. It's hard to say which one. I would say it's like in some ways, like, it doesn't give as much crit rate, but the damage bonus is more useful than the attack for some characters, or the it depends. Overall, either weapon is going to be great, and when paired with Cyno's weapon, it's great. So if you either want to get Cyno his weapon or Ayato his weapon, I'd say you're safe to wish on this banner. However, they're probably not going to be, there's not such good weapons that it's worth just pulling just for the sake of it. Like, if you don't have either character, then you should just get them anyways. It's not that good of a weapon banner. It's just one of the more solid ones we've had. So just to finish things off, no character in the game is a must pull, not even Furina. Stick around for my Furina pre-release and my Furina full guide so you can have so you can get an idea of all things Furina and whether or not she's worth it for your account. Stick around for my Baizhu guide. They'll probably be coming out in the next couple days. And if you want Ayato or Cyno, don't you dare let anyone tell you not to go for them if you like them. They are very, very strong, and Ayato being, I would say Cyno is a very strong unit and Ayato is a very flexible unit. And if you like them, you can't go wrong getting them. Best of luck with your wishes. Please subscribe if you want to see any of those videos coming out soon. Consider supporting me on Patreon or YouTube membership if the content's been helpful. And if you don't want to do any of those things, that is totally fine. Just watching the video has been more than enough. Thanks so much. Bye for now.